Hello, everybody. Today I want to talk to you about my journey of being an independent Christian in a society that is broken and confusing. I know many people have different definitions of what it means to be an independent Christian. I will tell you my own version and my own definition and my journey of what it means to be an independent Christian. For a very long time, I've always been a proud Christian, but I struggle with it on a daily basis, or even trying to process a world that is broken, that is filled with bigotry, including hate, or even confusion. I remember when I was a young child, I went to my local church in Ann Arbor, Michigan. In this church that I went to, I had a very nice minister who I can't remember his name. But he always talked about how Jesus Christ cares about the disabled, including human rights, and how he is a strong supporter on helping the poor, and how Jesus cares about other people. I've always liked this minister and what he said, and it helped give me comfort as a young child. I remember at my church when I was teased by other kids for struggling with autism, including a learning disability. My minister came up to me. He gave me some good advice. He told me that the best thing that I can do is try to focus on trying to do good things, learn from my mistakes to be a better person, and it's good to have compassion, including critical thinking skills. He also told me that Jesus Christ cares about people with disabilities, that he doesn't hate others who are different, like minorities, women, people who are different, sexual orientation, and people who are disabled. I keep playing this quote he had told me all the time. Unfortunately, he left our church, and we had new ministers and new church teachers for Sunday school. In our church, it was very tricky, and the new change was hard. I remember that there was new ministers, including some of the church Sunday school teachers, who were mean. They didn't like children with disabilities like me. They would use Jesus' name as a way to hate others, and it made me uncomfortable, sad, feeling guilt, and ashamed. I remember one time on a Sunday school in my church, I dealt where I had a church teacher where she showed very graphic images of women getting abortions and that they would traumatize many of us young kids about how it is sinful for women to get an abortion. It gave me the scare and the guilt feeling, and I was confused. I wasn't sure what to really think about that at that time. I wasn't sure how to try to communicate with the teacher about this, to even ask questions, because many of other kids, including me, were shamed if we asked questions or if we were in doubt. I remember when I was in high school, I had a classmate of mine. I won't say her name to protect the privacy of her, but she dealt with an unwanted teen pregnancy. I remember one day in my classroom, she had to go to the hospital because she wasn't feeling too well. As a Christian myself in that time, I prayed for her and her baby to survive and to avoid any medical problems that occurred. Unfortunately, the baby didn't survive and she needed an emergency abortion to save her life. In my high school days after this incident that had occurred, I remember watching her being teased by other people, being judged by even people who are very religious about how she had to get an abortion in order to save her life. With my Christian duty, I had to be a compassionate person. I had told her that I felt sorry for what she went through, that I'm not here to judge you. I know you were put in a very difficult position, but it wasn't your fault that you had lost the baby. Ever since this thing happened when I was in high school, I became more of pro choice. What I mean to say as a person who is pro choice and as a Christian is I believe that women should have the right to choose. If they are in any medical situations, they deserve to have access to an abortion. Also, there's a need to fund Planned Parenthood to expand on birth control or such educational awareness to reduce unwanted pregnancies. I support women making their own decisions about their bodies instead of being controlled by man. I know it isn't being pro choice as a Christian. I've dealt with being shamed by other people who are very religious about this. But all I can tell myself is that it's very important for me to be compassionate, understanding, and critical thinking Christian as much as I can. Also, I have been a strong supporter of stem cell research. I have known a few people, even from the past including currently, who have dealt with many different diseases like dementia, Parkinson's disease, diabetes, or other medical issues, and even struggled to gain access to good healthcare services or even access to medicine. As a Christian myself and a believer in Jesus Christ, I believe that we need to expand on improving medical research as a way to combat against different diseases, while we improve on healthcare services to help the poor, the disabled, or people who can't get access to healthcare get the care that they need without being denied. Also, Jesus and I believe that healthcare is a right and is not a privilege. As my journey continued from the past, including currently, I've always dealt with being bullied, being teased at, being spit at, dealing with the bad verbal harassments about having challenges with my disability. My disability that I struggle with is autism, including a learning disability along with a cognitive disability. I've had this ever since I was born through currently. The challenges that I face with it is I have difficulty on comprehending on learning different advanced subjects at a certain pace. Sometimes I struggle to figure out how to communicate my thoughts in different social settings. I struggle on trying to figure out how to multitask in a fast-paced environment or in different situations, and I struggle with understanding social cues. It's been a big challenge my whole entire life. I dealt with the harshness of not having friends in life. Friendships don't work that well. Peers of my friends make fun of me. People spit at me. There are also times when people say hateful words. I've also dealt with being cyberbullied on social media platforms, and sometimes girls, including some women, make fun of me for struggling with a disability or say mean things. People say anti disability stigma, where it hits me hard. It breaks my heart all the time when I deal with this. I've also experienced many people who are very religious, where they would like to use Jesus' name for bigotry and create hate against people with disabilities like me. They tell me that Jesus Christ hates people with disability. It makes me have mixed feelings about having faith in God or in Jesus. Again, I try to play back what my previously minister had always told me about Jesus Christ being an advocate for human rights, including the rights of the disabled. I continue to pray to God, including Jesus, to ask Him for guidance and understanding. It's always hard for me to try to have compassion for people when they are mean to me, when people love to say hateful words, or even if I deal with being spit at. I spend time praying to God, including Jesus, for a world to be a better place without bigotry or hate against people with disabilities, minorities, women, people with different sexual orientation, or if they are immigrants. I also keep praying for them that I hope that people could be understanding and appreciative of me as a human being who's trying to do good things despite having challenges with my disability, and that there could be more people who can be supporters of diversity, equity, inclusion without hate or judgment. Also, I try to pray that I hope that people can learn from their mistakes to be better people and to learn that bigotry and hate isn't good for society. Also, I try to be best as I can to be a human being and a Christian with compassion, kindness, understanding, supportive of people who I care about or people who struggle, and continue to work on critical thinking skills. I spend my time praying on a daily basis, whether it's at night, morning, or simply if I have a 30-minute break to myself. In my prayers to Jesus, including God, I've always tried to be the most honest person to explain. I try to tell him that, to be honest, I'm a human being that struggles with my disability. Yes, sometimes I make mistakes in life. Yes, I have trouble with communicating my thoughts in different social settings. Yes, I have trouble multitasking in a fast-paced environment, whether it's working the food service job or being in public places. And yes, sometimes I may be socially awkward, but I'm trying my best to be a human being with good principles that I've learned from my whole entire life, from Jesus, including God, along with many other historical figures that I've learned from them. I tell to God, including Jesus, that I'm a person that has tried to work on improving on critical thinking skills, to teach myself about how to understand different situations or to learn different subjects when I struggle with comprehension. I try my best to help the poor, the disadvantaged, or the disabled get access to essential items, including grocery bags filled with canned goods. I try my best to be a hard worker with good critical thinking skills in the food service job that is challenging, where sometimes I deal with being bullied by some coworkers. I try my hardest to be compassionate, including understanding to people that struggle in life. I work hard on trying to forgive people who have wronged me or said mean things, but it's hard. I even try my best to try to represent what it means to be a good Christian who tries to advocate for good policies or try to be supporter of social justice policies, including human rights along with the rights of the disabled. But I keep on struggling all the time. I deal with so much hate from people. I get spit at and being teased, including harassment from people, and they put me down even further. And people from different groups tell me I'm not perfect. I get told that I'm ugly. I get told that I'm a retard or a slowpoke or say me things like I wish that you weren't alive. I feel hurt, confused, and guilt because I'm trying to be a human being with good intentions, along with critical thinking skills. I'm trying to understand a world that is broken, that is filled with bigotry, including hate. I'm trying to be a good friend to the people who I care about, trying to be a good listener to them when they have struggles, trying to be supportive as much as possible, even if I struggle with my disability. When I pray to God, including Jesus, I can feel them talking to me, listening to me, and not judging me in a bad way. They're simply trying to give me good closure. I can hear them. They give me advice about continuing on doing good things, having the motivation to improve myself despite challenges, expand on critical thinking, including compassion, have the audacity to try to be an advocate for good policies, including social justice policies, to make the world a better place. I can hear them telling me that they know that I struggle, but deep down they know that I'm trying my best to do good. I have dealt a lot of hard times in my life where I had many people who are close to me had passed away or their death happened so fast. I lost my aunt to a brain tumor. I had lost a grandma on my dad's side to old age. I lost my grandparents on my mom's side, from one from disease, another one from old age. And I had lost my best friend from my childhood who had passed away 5 years ago during the pandemic. It is heartbreaking to lose the people that were part of my life, that were close to me. They understood me as a human being who wants to do good things. And they understand me despite having challenges with my disability. They even understood me as a human being who's trying my best to improve myself, to work on critical thinking skills when I have challenges with myself. And they didn't even judge me in a negative way, like other people, some of my friends, people in general, or highly educated people who don't appreciate me or even put me down for struggling with my disability. I have dealt with the hard times where I've lost faith in God, and I felt like I was mad at Him for taking away the people that were good to me. The people who passed are part of my life, and they were good people who tried to understand me as a human being. I try to tell myself I can't just be mad at God or Jesus. I have to try to pray again, and I have to try to figure out how to balance my emotions better or to be mature about how to understand myself better with these emotions. I pray to them. I try my best to pray with my emotions. I tell them that I'm always grieving the loss of these people in my life. I've always valued on how these people played a role in my life. When the world is broken or is filled with bigotry including hate, how many of them have gave me good advice in life, having always appreciated me as a person who's trying to do good even if I struggle with my disability. And they were compassionate to me, and to be honest, I am lost without them in my life because I can't find many people who can understand me or be appreciative of me or people who can value me as a human being with good principles, despite challenges with my disability. And also, I'm not mad at you all the time. I even prayed to God, including Jesus, to look over them, to make sure that they are in the afterlife, where they can have peace, and to make sure that they are looked after, and to make sure that they listen to my messages of appreciation, kindness, compassion to the people that passed away in my life. It's not always easy dealing with the loss or grief. It's painful all the time. There are many days that I cry sometimes. In a public place, I have to go to a public restroom to wipe out my tears. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. Sometimes it is hard for me to be in public places when people get mean at me, especially in a workplace or other places in general. Sometimes I have hallucinations of an angel or the people that were part of my life, and I can see that they're spirits of them that had passed away, where they can look at me, they can talk to me, they can watch over me when I struggle in life, when they try to tell me that I'm simply just trying to do good things and that they are appreciative of me for trying to be a human being with good principles despite the world being mean at you. The world is becoming broken. We have a current president that uses hateful, including bigotry views against the disabled, minorities, women, people with different sexual orientation, and immigrants. There has been a huge increase of many people who are very religious continue to use Jesus' name for hateful, including bigot views against good ideas. There are too many times social media influencers or members of the news media like to express hateful views against many common sense ideas like human rights, protecting the environment, having criminal justice reform, having universal health care reform, improvements on social justice. But I continue on as an independent Christian. What I want to explain a little bit further of being an independent Christian is that I don't belong to any political parties. I consider myself to be an independent, leaning progressive with some libertarian views. I mean to say what is, I'm a person that believes in protecting people's civil liberties from being oppressed. Also, I believe in expanding on universal health care reform to help people with pre existing conditions or people who simply can't afford health insurance get the care they need. I'm a strong believer that we need to have a comprehensive immigration reform where we can help protect immigrants, including refugees, from oppressive countries, while at the same time having a comprehensive border security without having to sacrifice civil liberties or even attacking U.S. citizens. The importance of improving on criminal justice reform to help protect individual rights while reduce crime, especially reducing police brutality, and even expand on wrongful conviction units to help reduce sending innocent people to jail for a crime that they didn't commit. Also, I'm a person that believes in finding ways to promote peace instead of war, even though it is not easy to solve, and that sometimes peace never works that well, as many people like myself can hope for. I only believe in the idea of expanding on social justice to improve our communities, to provide them with housing, to help the poor or disadvantaged or the disabled get access to food or even nutrition. I'm a person that also believes in expanding on human rights, including the rights of the disabled, to prevent any forms of discrimination or hate. I want to elaborate on the reason why I support immigration reform. I've studied a long time of this issue by reading the Bible, taking classes about world history, including American history, reading about these things on current events, watching YouTube videos, including documentaries. They talk about these issues. And they even talk about how many immigrants, including refugees, where they have faced so much hardships in very oppressive countries, where they don't promote human rights. They don't have access to clean water or access to clean food. They live in authoritarian countries where many of their rights are weakened. Many of these immigrants, refugees, including dreamers and children, want to find a pathway to freedom, a place where we don't use hate or bigotry, a place where we can provide clean water or clean food or other things that they can't have in other countries. And that I am a very compassionate person because I believe that people, especially immigrants, including the children, need some kind of safe way or passageway to good things without any forms of discrimination or bigotry or even violence. Being an independent Christian has never been easy because of the bad politics, the news media, and many other special interest groups, along with the wealthy, financial institutions, health insurance companies, law firms, and many other special interest groups where they have spent time corrupting our society, including our election cycle. It has turned us each other apart. It has caused us even further division, where many people have to rely on hate, including bigotry, and it's tough. I dealt with the hardships of losing friends and people being even further mean at me due to being an independent Christian and supporting these good common sense ideas that I previously mentioned. It is hard to deal with this form of hate from other people for trying to be supportive of good policies that Jesus Christ and God wants me to be. But I have to tell myself at the end of the day that it's very important for me to try to be a good Christian with good principles, good ideas, and continuing on these good principles that I've learned from Jesus Christ, including God, and for me to continue on and advocate for good things and to try to pray for these common sense ideas, especially for a world to be a better place. I have gone on a long journey of being an independent Christian. I'm trying to volunteer my time to help the community, to try to help the people who are poor, disadvantaged, or disabled, but it hasn't been easy. In my previously volunteering things that I've done, I volunteered in food banks, soup kitchens, in a homeless shelter where I've tried to help provide food, including essential items to people who are struggling with homelessness or who are in poverty or who are disabled. In these previously volunteering things, I dealt with a lot of struggles. I had challenges of multitasking in a fast paced environment. I dealt with being teased by other volunteers for struggling on doing a task, and they would make fun of me for having a disability. I dealt with hard things too, where they had tough rules on how much food we can provide to the poor, disabled, or people who struggle with homelessness. But we ended up having to throw away a lot of fresh food away. We had increased food waste. I felt so bad, I remember crying all the time. I felt guilt in myself, where I asked myself, how come we have to throw all this fresh food away while many other people can't get access to food? And how come people are being at me for simply trying to help others or trying to do good things, even if I struggle with my disability? I felt bad all the time. I felt ashamed and I felt sad. For example, seeing a young mother with her two children crying because he missed an hour of getting food and being told they couldn't get fresh food, and I being told that I had to throw it away and that I couldn't help them. I spent on that time trying to go on a journey of as an independent Christian. I'm trying to find some other voluntary things that I can do. For the past 6 years, including currently, I've been volunteering with a small community group in downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan, where we meet on Friday nights at the Liberty Plaza, where we provide pizza, coffee, hot chocolate, drinks, and grocery bags filled with canned goods or essential items to people who are homeless, people who struggle with poverty, people who are disadvantaged or disabled, and children who can't afford school lunches. I have enjoyed doing this on Friday night volunteering because I get to help out people by providing them with food without having to deal with food waste. I have very nice people who are heads of the volunteering group. Their names are Glam, and Sean Walker. Both of these have been very nice to me and have always appreciated their kindness and given me a chance to volunteer with this group. And they understand me as a person with a disability that I'm trying to do good things despite challenges in society. So far, volunteering on this Friday night has helped me. It has helped me even learn more about the struggles that people face. I hear people tell me stories that they have served our country, but they can't get help from the Veterans Administration. Mothers with young kids who say their children can't afford school lunches, which causes them to spend a day in school without a meal. I hear stories about how people who have lost access to food stamps, including Medicaid, when they can't get help from other resources. I heard many stories from people who struggle with homelessness or who can't find shelter or to stay in during bad weather, or if they have Section 8 housing or low income housing that is crumbling apart, and many others. Sometimes volunteering Friday night isn't easy. Sometimes the people that we feed have some short temper. Sometimes they get impatient, but all I can simply do as an independent Christian is try to be compassionate, understanding, with critical thinking skills, and not to be harsh on them. I tried to remind them to wait 10 to 15 minutes and to make sure that we can provide you with seconds. I've tried to make sure that I can do the best as I can to accommodate many of these people that we feed to make sure that they can get some food without having to starve when they can't get help from other resources. I've always been appreciative of Glenn, including Sean Walker, for all the hard work, their appreciation of me, including giving me a chance to volunteer with this group, and I'm proud to call both of them an inspiration and a good role models for me. In conclusion, going on the journey of an independent Christian has never been easy. It's always been hard and challenging, but I spent a lot of my time trying to understand my faith with God, including Jesus. How can I be a human being with good principles, including being a good Christian, despite challenges with my disability, or the world is broken or is filled with bigotry, including hate? To be honest, it has not been easy in continuing on this journey ahead. It has been a huge challenge. I spent a lot of time trying to understand myself as a person who can't do well with friendships, when I deal with people who get mean at me. I've dealt with the hardships of people who are very close to me that have passed away, while I struggle with grief and understanding of the world that is broken, and many others. But I have been proud to continue to be a Christian. I've been proud to try to advocate for good policies or to be supportive of social justice policies, including human rights, along with the rights of the disabled, even if it is unpopular among political parties or the news media or social media influencers, or even if it is unpopular among people who are very religious. All I can do is try to tell myself that it's good to support these common sense ideas and to continue to try to represent what Jesus Christ and God's common sense policies that they have advocated for. I know the world is broken. It's filled with bigotry, including hate and confusion in itself. It seems like we cannot have hope, and it's hard for me to have hope too sometimes. But I continue to try to pray for a world to be a better place, with good common sense ideas that I previously mentioned in this piece. I continue to try to be a volunteer to help the poor, disadvantaged, and the disabled get access to food or other essential items. I try my best to be an independent Christian, to continue to improve on working along with expanding on critical thinking skills, having a good balance of my emotions between grief, compassion, understanding, and trying to figure out how to navigate a society that's broken. I've been continuing on this long journey all the time. I still do the best as I can to try to comfort myself when I have challenges of being teased, being spit at, and deal with the bigotry including hate for simply struggling with a disability. But I continue on this long journey ahead. I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk about being an independent Christian, going on this long, confusing journey, and to understand my struggles in society. I hope many of you who are very religious could continue to advocate for good policies and not to use Jesus' name for hateful or bigoted views. I encourage many people who are very religious or from different religious organizations to be on the side of the people, to be advocating to help the poor, the disadvantaged, and the disabled when they can't get help with getting access to essential items, resources, or housing, or food, or healthcare services, because many people struggle during this time. Also, we need to come together to stand up against the corruption that has damaged our society too. Also, another thing I want to say is that healthcare is a right and it's not a privilege, but also Jesus Christ believes that we need to help others who are in need and believes that we need to be kind to other people, whether they have come from different backgrounds or who are disabled. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation of being an independent Christian. I hope this video is very helpful. I hope this video can help you understand me in a society that's broken, when it's filled with bigotry and hate, and the challenges that I face with having a disability and trying to do good things.